Hello and welcome to the classes of Mastering Biology. Let's learn biology in an easy way. So here I am again to discuss with you and explain you the structure of brain. We have already started with this chapter, control and coordination. I have discussed with you the structure of the neuron or the nerve cell. We have also understood how the transmission of the electrical impulse takes place. All right. Now, just to brief you about the systems before I start up with the detailed explanation of brain. So, the nervous system can be classified into two broad categories: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So these are two main nervous system which are present in our body. The central nervous system comprises of two components, which is the brain and the spinal cord. That means what you can see on the screen right now is a combination of brain and spinal cord. All right. And this is the diagram of the central nervous system where both brain and spinal cord can be seen. The peripheral nervous system mainly comprises of nerves. The nerves are of two types: the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. The cranial nerves, there are about 12 pairs of these nerves which arise from brain, and there are about 31 pairs of spinal nerves which arise from spinal cord. So you should know what are the two main nervous systems in the body. The central nervous system, which is the main functioning of the body. The main functioning of the body is controlled and coordinated by these two organs, which are the brain and the spinal cord. All right. And to its attachment is the peripheral nervous system, because brain is involved in processes like thinking. Spinal cord is involved in processes of like the reflex action that we have already discussed. Yes. Now, who is going to carry the messages either to the brain or to the spinal cord? There has to be a nervous system, that is the peripheral nervous system, which is mainly made up of nerves, which connects the sense organs or any other organ of the brain of the body to brain and spinal cord. Wherever thought process is involved, the nerves will send their impulse to the brain. And wherever thought process is not involved, quick action has to take place. In that case, spinal cord plays the major role. Right. Now, let us have a look at this part of the brain. When I say the human brain mainly comprises of the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. These are the main parts of the brain: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Yes, these parts are further subdivided, all right, because the functioning of the body is so complex that the work needs to be distributed. All right. So different parts do have different functions, and those functions have to be divided among different parts. All right. So that the body can perform proper functioning. Right. The last part is called the spinal cord. That means the ABC is the brain, parts of brain, and the brain only continues in the second part of the central nervous system, which is the spinal cord. Now, brain and spinal cord are very, very delicate organs, all right? So they need some level of protection. So first let us have a look at how is the brain and the spinal cord protected. So protection of the central nervous system. How is the central nervous system protected? The central nervous system, I already told you, involves brain. Now, brain is present in a bony box which is known as skull. The cavity of the skull holds the brain, which is known as the cranium. And that is why any word, when it comes in relevance with the cranium, we call it as relevance to the brain. All right. So the brain is located in the cavity of the skull, which is called as the cranium. This is not all. This is not all. Yes, there is another level of protection to the brain, which is the presence of three meninges. The word meninges means it has three membranes. The durameter, arachnoid, and pyometer. These are the name of the meninges if you wish to learn. So these are the three membranes. Now let us say this is the cranium and this is the brain which is present, all right? And we have, I told you, three layers. So durameter, arachnoid, and the pyometer. Right. Now, in between these three membranes, these are the meninges. And in between the membrane is present a fluid which is called as the cerebrospinal fluid. This is known as the fluid is known as cerebrospinal fluid. All right, this is the cerebrospinal fluid which is present in between the meninges. That means the brain is protected by a bony structure. Internally, it has three membranes, and these membranes are still filled with the cerebrospinal fluid. And this fluid is actually protecting the brain from jerks and shocks and friction. You know, sometimes when you are driving a car or when you are riding in a bus, what happens if the driver suddenly applies brake? We move forward. What do you think? When we move forward, even our brain is pushed forward. So it might get hurt with the skull. So to provide that level of protection, the cerebrospinal fluid is present, which prevents or protects the brain from shocks and jerks. So this is the level of protection the brain has, the bony structure and the membranes. And the third thing, the fluid. Now the fluid not only protects the brain from shocks and jerks, but it performs another important function. It provides buoyancy to the brain. That means it helps the brain to remain in a floating position. All right. The weight of the brain has to be more, and it is, imagine it is placed here. All right. And if it is placed here, obviously it is about 1.2 kgs. So keep a weight of 1.2 kgs on your head for some time and you will have a headache. So the cerebrospinal fluid makes it weightless by making it float, making it buoyant. All right. And so we do not feel the weight of the brain in the head. Clear? Similarly, another same level of protection is provided to the spinal cord. The spinal cord is again a delicate structure made up of nerves, all the nerves which arise from brains, right? And the spinal cord is protected by what we all know in the name of backbone. So it is protected by the vertebral column, which is made up of small bones called the vertebrae. Clear? Then it is also protected by the same three meninges and the cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid. That means the spinal cord is also having this three-layered protection or the three-level protection. The bony vertebral column, then the layer, the membranes, the meninges, the same name, durometer, arachnoid, and pyometer, and then they have the cerebrospinal fluid filled in between them. So this is how the brain and the spinal cord, in short, the central nervous system is kept protected. Now, I have already told you the word cranial nerves, the nerves which arise from brains, and the spinal nerves which arise from spinal cord, because these will only help in performing or carrying messages from one part of the brain to the other and to the body to the other. Now, when I explain the structure of the or the components of the reflex arc, I told you about the sensory neurons and the motor neurons. So yes, my dear children, neurons can be classified into two. The one which carries information from the sense organs to the central nervous system, they are the sensory neurons, and those which carry messages back from central nervous system to the organs, they are called as the motor neuron. All right. Now, let's proceed with the structure of brain. Brain is divided into three main components, as I have already told you. The forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. When I say forebrain is divided into three components. Cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. All right. Midbrain does not have any components. Hindbrain is further divided into three parts. Cerebellum, pons varolai, and medulla oblongata. Clear? Now, let us talk about these parts one by one. Why I have again made a flowchart? Because you know that's the best way and my favorite way of presenting an answer. You have to write very less. Now, without telling anyone which part of the brain is belonging to which main part, we have classified here. All right, so you don't have to write it again and again. Oh, the cerebrum belongs to the forebrain, then the second part of the forebrain is the thalamus. That all saves time in the board exams. All right, so let us talk about the first component, which is the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. It has two parts, and these two parts are called as the cerebral hemispheres. Now, when we look at the diagram, we are not able to locate the cerebral hemisphere. You can see here, you will not be able to locate the cerebral hemisphere. Then how are we going to figure it out? It's very easy. See, this is one complete brain, so we take it like this. This is one complete brain, all right? Now, what do? I make a vertical cut in the center. It goes to the center but does not reach to the other end. That means what you see as a view is something like this from the top. All right, but internally that part is connected, and that part of connection, this is what is known as corpus callosum. This is a band of muscles which connects the two hemispheres together. I hope I'm clear. I'll just explain it once again. Suppose this fist of mine represents the brain. I make a vertical cut like this, all right? This cut reaches to the center of this part, does not reach to the bottom, to the lower end. So upper half. So somewhat like this. And then the lower part is connected completely. Okay. So these two parts of the brain are called as cerebral hemispheres. And these two parts, or the two hemispheres in the center, are kept connected by a band of muscles which is known as corpus callosum. So corpus callosum is the band of muscles which connect the two hemispheres of the first part of the brain, which is the cerebrum. So cerebrum has two hemispheres. The cerebrum is divided into two parts, and these two parts are called the cerebral hemispheres, which I have told you are kept connected, or they are joined by corpus callosum. And this corpus callosum is a band of muscles. So I hope I'm clear till here. All right. Now, this part of the brain plays a very, very important role in the body. And the most important role played here is that it controls the voluntary actions. It controls the voluntary actions. And besides that, memory, willpower, confidence, and consciousness is a gift of this part of the brain, which is the cerebrum. So you need to keep in mind these few points about the cerebrum. It is the largest part of the brain. It has two hemispheres. The two hemispheres are connected by a band of muscles called the corpus callosum. If I refer to the functioning part, it controls the voluntary actions, the memory, the willpower, the consciousness, the confidence, everything is controlled here. And you know why is it able to control these voluntary actions? So let us quickly have a look at that part also. Why is it able to have a control for that voluntary actions? Because it has three areas. First is the sensory area. The second is the association area. And the third is the motor area. Now, I'll quickly take an example of the reflex action again. Now, you might be thinking why I'm again talking about the reflex action and the reflex arc part. Now, if you remember the reflex arc, I told you the decision is being made by the spinal cord, but an information is being sent to the brain. So, that information is received by the sensory area of the brain. Information from spinal cord. Now you see, I'll take another example for you to understand. When you are a very small baby, or you must have seen small babies, yes, and the cups are lying on the table and they don't know, they don't have an idea, and they would just suddenly come up and get hold of the cup, and if it has the liquid, it has tea or hot coffee, they might burn, but they do not leave it instantly. All right, what happens? They have held it just like if they are holding a toy, but because of the reflex action, this is going to happen. That's the normal reaction. Yes, so it is going to be left, but both their palms are hurt. All right, there is some level of injury because the duration was a little more and then it was hot as it was not expected. So this information is sent to the sensory area of the brain, right? Now, the information which has been received here is stored here. And when the second time again on the table, the child sees a cup, even though if it is not filled, even it does not have any hot liquid, no tea, no coffee, still the child is going to try and touch it with the finger first, just to ensure the temperature of the cup and whether it is worth holding or not. So that is the role of association area, because the association area has the stored information about being burnt with a hot cup. So this association area will store this information, all right, stores the information and it helps in comparing the information. It helps in comparing the information with the recent episode. So there is storage of the information and linking it with the past experience. So comparing with past experience. Now you know, thought process is there, brain is being involved. That means the motor area is going to generate a response. That is, the child is going to think twice before it touches the cup. So this happens in our daily lives also, in case of adults also. All right. So this is why the brain has these three areas: the sensory area, the association area, which compares it with the past experience, and then the motor area, which is going to generate a response, and that too with the thought process. All right. So let's get back to the flow chart. So this is about cerebrum. Now when I say thalamus, thalamus, what is it doing? Thalamus sends information from sense organs to brain. Which part of the brain? To the cerebrum. All the sense organs are sending the information to the cerebrum for the action to be taken place. All right. Or for the information to be stored, what you see. How you remember that this particular fruit is an apple? Because the eyes have sent a message to the brain that, oh, a red colored of this particular shape, this is an apple. These are grapes. So the thalamus is sending the information from the sense organs. The sense organs are receiving the vision, they're receiving the words, and this information is sent to the cerebrum to be stored for future use. Clear? Then we have hypothalamus. The hypothalamus part of the brain plays a role in regulating certain activities like thirst, hunger, emotions. All right. So these are affecting, these activities are under the control of hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is responsible to control such activities of hunger, thirst, and emotions. Let us move to the next part of the brain, which is the midbrain. Midbrain functionally is not that much active, but yes, it is the site for entry and exit of the neurons. The neurons enter and exit the brain from this part of the brain, the midbrain. All right. Let us move to the third part, which is the hindbrain. Now, when I say hindbrain, cerebellum is the first part, and this cerebellum is the second largest part of the brain. Now, what is it doing? It is performing two very, very important functions of the brain. The first one, it helps to maintain balance and posture. It helps to maintain balance and postures. That is when you are riding a cycle or you are swimming, you're walking, you're sitting. So how you're able to maintain your posture, that is because of this cerebellum. And this cerebellum gets very easily affected by alcohol. So a person who's not able to walk in a straight line, a person who's not able to swim, who is not able to for some period of time, he might have an affected cerebellum. If you're not able to walk properly in a straight line, you might have temporarily affected cerebellum because of alcohol consumption. So alcohol is directly affecting this part of the brain, cerebellum, which maintains the balance and the posture. Besides this, it also helps in fine procession and coordination of various activities. For example, when I am taking a class, I am thinking, I'm speaking the notes, I'm speaking up the content. At the same time, I'm writing, and at the same time, I have it in my mind that, oh, yes, I have to take this point also, I have to add this point also, and I keep on asking if you are understanding or not. Similarly, when you are studying, when you are watching my lecture right now, so what all activities you're doing? You're focusing, you're able to use your eyes and read the content on the board. At the same time, you're listening to my voice and maybe to some other voices which are present in your surroundings, and you are writing also, you're making notes also. All right, so this is what is the fine procession and coordination of various activities, the synchronization between different body parts at the same time. We are doing 3-4 activities at the same time, and this is done by cerebellum. Clear? The next part is the pons varolii. Pons varolii is said to be having the pons varoli is said to be having, it controls respiration in some aspect. Controls respiration in some aspect. But the main organ to control the respiration is medulla oblongata. This helps in controlling respiration. This is the main respiratory center. This is the main respiratory center. Secondly, it controls various involuntary activities. It controls various involuntary activities of the body, which include what? Which include vomiting, sneezing, swallowing. Then besides this, you have your heartbeat rate, the blood pressure. All these involuntary activities are under the control of this medulla oblongata. One more point I came to remember, that besides these three functions, one more, the body temperature is regulated by the hypothalamus. So these are certain important parts of the brain. This flowchart is showing you all the parts of the brain. All right, I have written the functions. If you write like this, if you present like your answer like this, you will write less and give more information to the examiner, and that too in a very, very short period of time. All right, so this is the flowchart. This is a very, very important flowchart. You should learn this by heart. And if I have missed out, although I don't remember missing out anything, still if you find that something can be added, please add it from your NCERT, because that is the mother book. All right, don't add it from anywhere else, because you'll get much more information about brain as you move in the higher classes. But please restrict yourself and be concise, all right, and refer to only your NCERT of grade 10. So this is all about the structure of brain. Along with that, I have also discussed the functions of brain. So voluntary and involuntary activities. Voluntary is under the control of cerebrum. Involuntary is under the control of medulla oblongata, like swallowing, vomiting, then your blood pressure, rate of heartbeat. So these are all involuntary activities. All right. So let's move to the picture again. I would like to tell you something here. This part, which is the last part, the hindbrain. Can you see this part? This one. This part, the medulla oblongata. This is the cerebellum. This part is the cerebellum. And this pons remains hidden. The word meaning of the pons is hidden. So this pons and then medulla. The medulla continues into this last or the first part of the spinal cord. So medulla of the brain. Medulla of the brain and the spinal cord is said to form the brain stem. It forms the brain stem. So which part of the brain is involved in forming the brain stem? It is the medulla along with spinal cord. So with this, children, I have covered up all the important parts of the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, the structure of the brain, the functioning, what all components are there. I have discussed with you everything. So in the next lecture, you will find my notes on the topic plant control and coordination, that is plant movements, and we will also talk about the plant hormones. Thank you. Keep revising, and for any doubts, please feel free to contact me. All right. You can give your comments to me in the comment box. Thank you.